Jazz and Kodak have been great sponsors of ours, and Donnie Deutsch was on as well, so it's terrific.
Now, we've gotten to know each other through the show, but one of the ways we've really gotten to know is through Twitter, because you're an active Twitter, right?
I am. My brothers are still fascinated by this, because outside of Excel and Microsoft Word, I've been largely computer illiterate most of my life. So to have been so engaged so early with Twitter and Facebook, I'm just really enjoying it.
So how do you do it? I mean, everybody has their own style, so how do you do it? I mean, how do you find time? I know your dad's got you running around doing a lot. You got your own business, we're going to talk about that. You got your book, you got the shows. So are you, you just doing it on the BlackBerry, iPhone? How do you do it?
Mainly the BlackBerry, so I sort of tweet on around, if you will. But I have Uber Twitter and I tweet through that.
And you doing it, or somebody else doing it?
No, I am.
Yeah.
I think that, and a lot of times, I'll follow people and then quickly unfollow them when I notice a somewhat disingenuous tone, or you recognize that it's a PR person pushing product. So I try to really balance things as well in my own tweets that are a little bit more self-promotional, relating to different initiatives we're working on at the Trump Organization, with also a little bit personal. And for me, Twitter is about creating a dialogue with my consumer, or the next generation of my consumer, and letting them understand what our brand stands for. And since we're a family, and since we're a personality-driven brand, it's easier to do than a traditional hotel company or jewelry company.
Or Kodak or something.
Or, yeah, that doesn't have an identifiable person behind it. Mm-hmm. So, I try to reach out to people and let them know different aspects of what I'm working on, but in a more engaging way. So one of the things, actually, we were talking about backstage, that I've done and has been very interesting to my followers is I'll tweet renderings of a hotel that I designed that's under construction and ask for the feedback on the suite product while it's being designed and being built. And it's amazing, sort of the inspiration I get from my followers, but also their responses to what they like, what they love, what they like less. So it really allows me to have this sort of dialogue that I found to be very useful.
Is it easier to tweet about yourself or about the business? Is there a difference?
I think in some way we are inextricably linked, but I get excited. I get excited about what we're working on. I'm very passionate about that. I think, for me, Twitter has been an exercise of, feeling more comfortable in a more candid, personal way. I think I've always tried to differentiate, and you see it in the media I do. I don't do media for the sake of media. I tend to go, on a TV show or in a magazine because I want to discuss an initiative we're working on, and that magazine or that TV show is geared towards the demographic I'm looking to appeal to. So I don't, you don't find me in publications giving tours of my apartment, because I'm not looking at it for just the sake of that. So I think part of the problem is, part of the challenge for me was being honest and talking about personal things that didn't necessarily have a business relevance, and it's something that I'd never done. I'd drawn this line between business and media and my personal life.
But
so it's been great.
But you share that, though. I mean, I know it comes through. Can I follow you? We tweet back and forth and email a lot, sometimes midnight or 2 a.m. We're running back and forth about things.
Well, the world now knows I'm an awful, atrocious speller, despite the fact that I try to do the spell check periodically. But yes, my weakness is glaring through.
So you got a lot of things going on, and obviously people can tell from the conversation you're very intelligent, articulate, and I've known that for years, watching you on the show and being a part of the show. You got your own jewelry line, which is pretty cool. How do you weave that? How do you do that? You got the book too. The Trump card that you've got was a bestseller. So how do you weave all that stuff in?
Well, actually, the Trump card, I give a lot of credit for the success of the book through the efforts I made using online media, or new media, mainly through Twitter. So I was just constantly discussing it, promoting it, and I think it did have a real benefit. So I'd have sample chapters, or I talk about experiences I had it, and link to the website for the book, and I definitely think it helped in my goal of having a bestseller, and it did become a bestseller pretty quickly. With the jewelry, one of the things that I've been working on is creating a link between the business side of what I do on the jewelry level, and trying to tie that in with a philanthropic cause that I'm very actively involved with, which is the UN Foundation. And I've recently just signed on as an ambassador for their Girl Up campaign, which is meant to galvanize a younger generation here of adolescent women to support and help their adolescent peers in developing countries who are less fortunate than themselves. So obviously new media is an amazing way to reach out and to cultivate that kind of contact and with those women, with those young ladies. And so I developed through the jewelry company a piece of jewelry to be sold primarily online that is much less expensive and much more accessible, and the proceeds of that piece will go to the UN Foundation.
So let's give a shout out for it, because I'm a blatant promoter. So where do they find it? On what website? Where do they get it?
My website, and it will be launched in June in conjunction with the UN Foundation's
You want to give the name?
initiative.
Just give the name of the website.
Oh, Ivanka. IvankaTrumpCollection.com.
Okay, because we don't want to forget that. We didn't pay you to come here, so we want to give you a plug for that. So what's been the biggest surprise that you've had, with this social media? I mean, I always try to be careful. I mean, I got a person here from Kodak that actually, she has her name is Tina, and she has men who just follow her, that are just following women named Tina, which is weird. I don't care where you're from. Okay? It's kind of bizarre, and Tina, it's really scary. And so, what's been...
Well, I saw Tina, so I understand why the men follow her.
Yeah, exactly.
It may not be because her name's Tina.
Yeah. So what's been a big surprise for you about this phenomenon? Because you run into people you've never met before, but yet they follow you and become friends. What's a big surprise for you?
I think, quite frankly, I was a bit hesitant because I thought that there would be a lot of cruel people who would be following and opining on my tweets, and especially because I put no parameters on who I'm speaking to, and I kept it a very open forum. But one of the nice and positive surprises I've had is that the people following me are genuinely interested in the things I'm writing about. Not all the time, but for the most part, and they give supportive feedback in a way that I didn't necessarily think was possible when you're used to sort of the nasty blog culture and the comments on some of these various websites, when they put up a piece on you. So I was pleasantly surprised by that, and I think that encouraged me to be more open and to be more candid about my personal life as well.
Think about let's talk about personal life and personal brand. Let's ask you a question about that. There's a lot of people who are actually out here in this audience who are aspiring to build their own personal brand. Trump's one of the biggest personal brands that could possibly be. Business brand, personal brand. And then you've got the Ivanka Trump brand. How do you go about protecting that, and personifying that brand, to meet what you want it to be? What advice would you give to the people here?
Well, I think you have to be extremely consistent in your messaging. I mean, if you look at my father, one of the great lessons I've learned, that love it or not, he's incredibly direct, he's incredibly blunt, and he says exactly what
Is who he is.
And people respect him for that. And he's always who he is. There's nothing fake about him.
You don't have to question it, do you?
You do not. So that's one of the things that I've tried to develop as well is, my unique personality and tone, and make sure that it's consistent among all the businesses that I'm working on and all the endeavors that I'm doing. So, I think consistency is extremely important when you're trying to utilize new media as a way to grow a platform and develop a brand.
I mean, Celebrity Apprentice, is kind of wrapping up with that. It's been hot. I've been on this show for the last 3 seasons with you as a judge, and it's just been really cool to be a part of that and watch the dynamics, how it's put together. Now, most people don't know that show was actually taped a few months ago, and then it comes as it lays itself out. How do you, because you and I were tweeting, I was in Israel the night our episode was on.
I was in Bahrain. I told all my followers that I would tweet each episode live and answer their questions each Sunday when they air, and I do this. But the second episode, I had a business trip come up last minute, and I had to go to the Middle East for a week. So I was in 8 countries, 9 days, and I spent 2 Sundays in the Middle East saying, I really wish I hadn't made this commitment at 4 o'clock in the morning, watching it online, and then trying to tweet responses to all the questions. But, I did it, and it was great, and it was really fun to engage with everyone and see what they were responding to. And I think it really, for me personally, it was a lot of fun.
It adds a lot. I mean, I was at 4 o'clock in the morning, I was in Israel. I actually had my wife in South Dakota with Skype, and she turned her web camera to the television. That's how I watched it on Skype. And
Dedication.
I had 4 o'clock in the morning, we were going back and forth, and we were tweeting each other about, hey, this is what's going on. Oh my gosh, I hope the guys don't blow it, and that kind of thing. So pretty exciting. So, listen, we're done. Everybody give it up for Ivanka.